Yeah.
We all go in the room.
Perfect. Thank you.
So it'd be this one. Protect the privacy interests of the identifiable.
Yeah. I think does it show it on? If you click on it, it should show that word. Yeah. We're close.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at these.
Oh. No problem, I'm just getting your attention. That's Kate's birthday.
All right,
Yeah.
I think we're good. Are we ready, Forrest? All right. Call to order the regularly scheduled board meeting of USD 464 for Monday, January the 11th. This time, I'd ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next is approval of the agenda. The only other thing, since Lauren and I talked this afternoon, we'd like to visit about how we're going to go about the lights. So I'd like to, I move that we amend the agenda and add action item 5.9. I don't know what we're going to call it, lights for Beatty Field. It's more of a discussion and about the RFP process. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we amend the agenda and add item 5.9 regarding lights at Beatty Field. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. All right, item 1.4, officer elections. And by statute, we're required to visit officer elections each January, but we do have the opportunity to extend that out to July. I don't know if there's any discussion or volunteers. You got my email that kind of walked back my comments from our December meeting. But other than that, I'm going to open up the floor to how the board would like to go forward.
I make a motion to extend the vote to what'd you say? July
The July
of
meeting.
2024? I was thinking.
That's fine. Well, there's a few complications there. You want to reword that motion?
Okay, I make a motion to extend the vote to July of 2021.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
All right, Kai moved and Stephanie seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. All right, Lori, I think you're up next with the mid-year budget review.
Can you all hear me with my mask on?
We can, if you want to take it off, that's fine.
Okay. So I'm just here to report on our mid-year budget review that we just completed. January is a good time because we're halfway through the fiscal year. And we went through and I have projections. So based off of what we've spent halfway through the year, we're projecting what we will have spent at the end of the year. And we have no concerns, no red flags, so that's always good. We feel pretty good about where we are budget-wise. We talked some strategies for some additional staffing and came up with some good strategies, which I think will be discussed probably later. And, you know, we've had some extra expenses because of COVID, but luckily that's been covered with the CARES money. So, otherwise, I don't know, we'd be in a different place, I guess. But we feel pretty good about where we are. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I'm also going to mention briefly later in your agenda, there's a second publication. I don't know if you guys looked at it yet in your packet. That's just something the state requires, and they ask that we don't have it approved at the same time as the budget. So I just put it on for this meeting since I'd be here. And all that is, if the, well, I don't, do you guys have questions about it? I guess I can go over it, or
I mean, I think it's the total percent is above.
if it's
was it
over
3 or
1.8%
1.8?
increase, then the board has to vote. I mean, it's already happened, so it's not like it's, but the board just needs to be aware we have to publish it
This is,
for the public.
this is from past legislation, and actually we had to do the same thing last year.
Just to be, yeah, we did it last year, just being clear about it.
Basically driven by the valuation
Right.
increase, even though we.
Cause our
dropped
rates didn't
mills.
change, but the dollars changed because of our evaluations going up.
Our rates went down, right?
Yeah, barely, yeah, just, yeah, a little bit. But the dollar amount actually went up because of our evaluations going up. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
I think it's important that the board knows, you know, Lori's been working for a little over 2 years in this position, and she's created an outstanding spreadsheet that she uses on a daily basis to, you know, to track previous spending and this year's spending, and it just makes it so much easier when we look at each fund line and, you know, where we're at, and she's able to mark areas where maybe we've overspent, and it's just, it speeds this whole process up more than you can ever imagine. So I'm very pleased with, did you create that Excel, or was that somebody else might have?
No, actually, a lot of it was Ann's, and then the projections, Greenbush helped me. So the projections are nice because you can, it's just a formula based off of what we've spent and what we think. So that helps, it's like a crystal ball.
It's outstanding, it really is.
Any other questions related to finances?
Okay.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
All right, Mr. Farrar and crew. This is just you and Judy.
Yeah. Actually had her tonsils out.
Ooh.
All right, thank you guys for letting us come tonight, talk a little bit about our CTE programs and the direction of not only our high school, but our new high school. So we're gonna start off with a little bit of a conversation with our CTE programs.
Hi guys, I'm Jody Smith. I appreciate you guys having me here to talk to you about CTE. I was trying to decide whether or not to put together a presentation, but I decided to put together an executive summary for you guys regarding our CTE program. And I'll be talking about the contents of this, but I wanted you guys to have something in hand as well. Just to kind of go over highlights of our CTE program.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Some of our objectives and goals for the future, and then I included some student enrollment data as well in an appendix for the past 3 years, so you can kind of see some numbers that are moving up in different areas of CTE for the past 3 years. Obviously, some of those numbers have been kind of impacted with COVID, but in general, on page 1, I listed out our pathways that we offer at Tonganoxie that we talked about last year when I gave you an update as well. And in general, I just wanted to kind of discuss how our CTE team came together at the beginning of the school year during our PD, and we really tried to establish some team goals and where we wanted to be as a program. CTE can be somewhat difficult because unlike, social studies department or a math department or a science department, you have other teachers that teach the same content, and with CTE, we're kind of our own content masters, right? We do have, 2 FACS teachers and 2 ag teachers now that can rely on each other, but everyone else is their own content specialist. So to really try to drive a program, you have to kind of establish a foundation. And so we decided to come up with 3 norms that we would support one another, have a continual growth mindset, and then be accountable for oneself, our content area, and to each other. We also discussed, how our hands-on classes might look this year with the pandemic, how how we could bring it together and really figure out a way to make CTE more aware or bring a more awareness about it at the middle school level before students get to the high school, how to educate parents better regarding what opportunities students have at the high school. Okay? Because a lot of times freshmen, when our incoming 8th graders, they kind of have limited elective choices due to their schedule, but we want to make them aware so they can kind of plan out ahead was one of our goals. And we talked about maybe starting some new traditions, holding various events and recognition ceremonies for CTE. Currently, I think the only formal recognition that we have, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Farrar, is at graduation they will get a special award if they are a pathway completer, and I believe their name in the graduation program has a special character next to it. But we're working towards some ideas that hopefully we can put through either this spring or definitely next year. In general, one thing I'm very excited about with Career in Tech Ed is our mindset. We want to continue to help kids recognize certain skill sets that they have. Okay? Provide them opportunities to grow those skill sets in the classroom or outside of the classroom. I truly believe if students can everyone has skills and abilities, right? If you can help them recognize that and grow them, and then connect it to content, I feel like that's where the deeper learning happens for students, because they're not like, why am I doing this? This is a boring assignment. They can make a connection of where it might impact them in the future in career-based learning. So I'm very excited for what we're doing. Some of the highlights that I want to talk about with CTE this past year, it's for 2020 and 2021. We went ahead and moved through with the completion of our course concentrator activity. I mentioned that the last time I spoke with you guys about how we were trying to figure out a way to track pathway completers at the high school. And so we were able to develop a form and have the student body filled out and just mark what classes that they had completed an elective course, and it was auto-populated what type of pathways were their strongest based on their classes. So then we could begin to have that conversation with students. Maybe they didn't realize that they really are interested in business, but by completing that form, it even gave them a pie chart with a visual aid for them to say, hey, let's have that conversation. You've taken several business courses. Here are some career options. Let's pair it with Zello that we do with the counselors, right? Let's see what skill sets you have that maybe you didn't recognize with that. So we were able to carry that out, which I think was a successful run, and we plan for that this year as well. One thing I'm very proud of is our manufacturing and construction and design pathways for the architectural engineering. We have 100% placement for students going to post-secondary after they leave Tonganoxie High School into an engineering career, okay? This is the 8th straight year for that 100% placement of students continuing on at the collegiate level in that program. So I don't think that there's very many schools in this area that actually offer 4 to 5 CAD classes for students. So I think that's something to be very proud of. Mr. Al Troyer, is in charge of that pathway, and he even brings back in previous students that are now in college for that career, and he has them come and mentor and talk to students about what they could expect. So that's a big highlight for us. With our mobile equipment maintenance pathway, or our auto program, we added a new technical level course this year. It's called Fundamentals of Diesel Mechanics. We plan to continue teaching that course next year, and that just gives students another opportunity to learn mechanics, but on diesel-powered engines. So that would be some of your higher or vehicles and heavier equipment. Okay, and I threw in a statistic that the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that there will be a 3% growth in the diesel mechanic demand for diesel mechanics. So I think that that's just nice that we're offering a class, a new class for students that provides some industry alignment. The next highlight I'd like to talk about is our ag program. So I believe this is the first year that we've ever employed 2 ag teachers at one time. It's been great. We've allowed for more students who really want to get pre-enrolled and placed into the course to meet their needs. So we now have 4 sections of Intro to Ag. So we have 90 students currently enrolled just in that introductory level course this year. In years past, we may have had that many students interested, but we couldn't offer that many sections because we needed more teachers. So that's been a great support system for that program. Another pathway for ag is the power, structural, and technical. We added a new class to that pathway as well. It's a small gas engines class, and I think the great thing about adding this course is it allows some of the underclassmen to be able to get some hands-on experience in the shop. It's another opportunity for them, whereas they may have had to take a different introductory course before they could move on. So that's just a nice benefit that we're offering them. Some of our objectives that we have for next year, right, and years to come, there are so many ideas that we had. This document could have been like 30 pages, okay? But these are some of the main ones that I think that we're gonna focus on for this upcoming school year, and then one main item that I'd like to hold us accountable for within the next 3 years. We're gonna continue on with the course concentrator activity. I really think getting year 2 data will provide us a clearer picture of how our pathways are doing at the high school, because students will have taken additional elective courses and we'll be able to do some more career planning with them based on their additions from this year. Our goal to have that complete is by the end of Q4 yearly. Our comprehensive ag and plant systems. So we're gonna rebrand the horticulture courses. I'm surprised I can actually say that word. I've messed it up I don't know how many times. Mainly because students, it's a hard word to say, and they don't really understand what that class is about and what it entails. So we're trying to align it with the new construction, especially with the new greenhouse that we're going to have once the building is complete. And then the great thing is we will be able to offer the horticulture class as a science credit to students. So maybe for those non-traditional students that need to get their science credits to graduate, this will be just one more opportunity for them to meet those requirements. So, very excited about that. Manufacturing, we are going to offer a new course for the upcoming school year called Intro to Welding. It will be a semester-long course, so we'll get to have back-to-back semesters with different students. This will allow THS to maintain the pathway in-house at the high school. If students have not taken the industrial arts course at the middle school, and then they move on to the high school, we have to complete an introductory level, a technical level, and an application level. So maybe they didn't take that course, and then they find their niche in high school, and they want to become a completer, and they want to move on. They can't go back in time and retake it. So by offering this course at the high school, it will allow us to maintain the integrity of that for our students. Additionally, I think it's a great way, it will be a prereq for students to get into welding 1 and move on to welding 2. So currently, the only way you can move on to welding 1 and progress is to take the Intro to Ag course. So this will be another opportunity if students really are focused in on welding for them to be able to advance their skill set. I'm very happy about that. And then with our web and digital communications program, we really want to acquire a production printer so we can do high volume outputs of printing media. So we we really foresee this as, hey, let's print the programs for the football games on Friday nights. Let's print our own tournament programs in-house, right? And have those students that are already designing the tournament program still design it, but then we can print it in-house. Then what does that look like in years to come? We can start off having those kids complete jobs for the community, right? And then make money, almost like a side business to self-sustain themselves and for their supplies. So we are looking into pricing and really how we can acquire such printers. They are pretty expensive. I know Preston Troyer and I looked into it, and some of them you have to pay like a rental fee per month. And if we're not getting those jobs within the community at first, I think that's one of our biggest challenges that we're facing right now. But we would really like to see us be able to get that, because I think what we could do for our school and our community would be big. The only other, in addition to those objectives, the only other kind of important thing that we need to identify a solution to is an additional shop space for strictly dedicated to our auto and our ag program. Okay, those programs, they make up 5 of our 13 pathways, so almost half of our pathways. And for just this school year, we have 227 students currently enrolled in one of the classes, a shop, considered a shop class. Those would be like your Dream Wall Service 1, 2, 3, your welding 1 and 2, that new diesel course, your ag fabrication, which is a higher level welding course, the small gas engines, and then our intro to ag, we actually do a short 9-week unit where they are out in the shop as well, working in welding. So that's that is a third of our students that are involved in a shop or ag class for THS. What I foresee in the future, so next year, right, we're adding that intro to welding course. So we'll have more students involved and enrolled in shop classes. So I think that number could easily top 250 students. I think about how we're housing currently our general service courses and our diesel mechanics. There's, different equipment and tools for diesel that you use as opposed to working on a regular car. Currently, that's all in the same area. So I think it would make sense if we could come up with a solution for additional shop space. It makes sense to me to kind of have, your general service in one area, your diesel mechanics in another, and your welding in a separate as well. Okay? As far as when the new construction is complete, we will not have a location for our small gas engines class. We had to get really creative this year with the number of students that we have involved in our ag program. Okay? And so currently that class is being taught in the old Tongi Inc. room / the old yoga room / the golf room. Okay, that's not a shop.
Used to be the weight room many years ago too.
And the weight room, I forgot about that. And so, I was trying to offer solutions with my teammates, like, hey, and naively I said, why can't you just teach that small gas engines in the welding room, on hours that you're not out there welding? It just seems so logical to me. But obviously I'm not a content specialist in welding, because they're like, Smith, duh, you have to house oil and gasoline, and there's fumes that can be combustible. Even if we're not teaching at the same time, that's not a good suggestion. I was like, okay, thank you.
Fires are bad.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I was just thinking about space.
That's good.
Moreover, there's just not enough space. They were able to get several engines donated for kids to work on this year, which they've been working really hard on getting additional resources. So we have like 20 rolling carts over in the Tongi Inc. room with engines on it. And there's just not enough space for us to store it in our area currently. And I suggested, well, could we somehow, not impose on Mr. Mauer's space, but somehow get into the shop area that we have for auto mechanics for the small gas engines. And, you know, just with the sheer number of students and working in one area, presents a big safety concern. So in general, I think we have lots to celebrate with our highlights. I believe that we have really good objectives and some items that we're gonna be able to accomplish next school year. I'm not really sure how to tackle the space for us, but no matter what, I think, it's a great thing because, you know, there's people that move into our town because they wanna be a part of our CTE programs, our ag programs. And no matter what, we are doing a great job with instructing students, and overall, THS, I feel like we, I don't know, we do so great at helping students, the traditional four-year students, and then we are still able to balance and provide so many opportunities for students that are more interested in the trades. So I'm very proud of that overall. In general, I know I just talked a lot. Do you guys have any thoughts or?
I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the information that you provided tonight. It was very interesting. A couple of things that I kind of wrote down as you were talking. Has it ever been talked about by having the CTE teachers also serve as like student advisors? And I'm not sure how that would happen, but kind of like a college advisor where those students would talk to them about potential courses that they needed to take to then either go on to a technical school or to go on to college. And then, so go ahead.
Like have students like sign the business
So they would meet
teacher?
with them. So like if they were interested in engineering, they might meet with Troyer to talk about what courses, and I'm thinking more of a once or twice a year kind of thing where they would meet with them and just talk about what are their potential career plans and what do they need to do in high school to achieve that, and then maybe even that person serves as a possible reference for them when they go on, or even as they proceed into the work world, maybe they could help guide them into either summer jobs or maybe full-time employment after school, but kind of serving as an advisor for them.
That's a great question. I don't think that we've necessarily completed it in that manner. Currently, like, you know, I have homeroom students, right, for my seminar, and we go through Zello items, and I look at that, and they're like, oh, this is stupid. Why do we have to do this? And I'm like, hey guys, this is good stuff. Like, I haven't been a teacher my whole life, and I did the skills and abilities, and it listed 5 jobs of positions I've held in the past. Like, this is good stuff. And I try to encourage students who I know have an interest in a specific area to reach out to those teachers. But I do like this idea.
Just, I thought when you were talking about horticulture, because there's jobs in agronomy, and I have a child who is working to be an agronomist now, so, and it all started in horticulture in high school. So there are things that maybe those teachers, like information like that they can help lead them into a potential career path that the kids have never ever heard of before.
Right.
But it fits in line with what they enjoy doing.
I do like that idea. I'll take it back.
And then my other question is, we talked about the CTE program and how beneficial it is to the kids, but I think there also, along with that, has to be a commitment to maintaining the equipment necessary to teaching these kids up-to-date application of equipment that they would actually see if they were to go on. And my example is the plasma cutter. I've been told that it's been down for a while and it's too expensive to replace. And so maybe it's not that we have to purchase a new one, but maybe we find joint ventures with businesses where they help donate one or help fund it, or I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to be creative with that. But that's my concern, is if we say we're gun-ho and helping these kids move forward in these programs, that equipment is equally as important in making sure those kids have proper education on it.
I would wholeheartedly agree.
Well, I mean, to me, it seems like if we're gonna add a new program and it's gonna require equipment, then that needs to get built into some budget or replace. I mean, there's a life on that, and it's gotta be built into some capital plan. Otherwise, like you said, it's pointless. We're outdated, and then we're way behind, and we have to stop that.
I know for me, out a way, either fundraising, writing a grant, or coming up with some like business idea to make it self-sustainable, to try to service my equipment and make sure I have that. But it would be nice to have some additional stuff built in for CTE. We get Perkins dollars, but we only get so much per pathway, and so I think this year we just got lawyers in my hair, which is fine. I think it was just over 5,000. So there's a lot of teachers and a lot of pathways, and so we don't have it on a rolling system of, oh, Smith, you have to spend it this year, it's your year. We just kind of based on needs of who really needs it, and that's kind of how we have allocated that. But I agree, maintenance is very important.
Yeah, and maybe not only even maintenance, but understanding if there's new technology out there, maybe that's something that, like those, to me, the CTE teachers should still be connected to the whatever world that pathway is in, knowing about some of those new technologies that might be necessary to actually teach, to teach the kids what they're gonna need to know for today. We can always look at the past and teach them things that how maybe it was in the past, but now that, you know, we have maybe a little more technology that in the real world for them, we probably need to make sure that that's up to date on.
That is one, I guess, main purpose of our advisory committees. So each of us have 3 people per pathway on our advisory committees that are in the working world in that industry, and we rely on them to kind of tell us about new equipment, what's the expectation for even just soft skills in the workplace and whatnot. So we meet with them twice a year.
And then, sorry, one more question.
It's
And that's
okay.
kind of what I was thinking with if the CTEs serve as advisors, also connecting them to people that are in the industry, like helping them, get them connected to the people in the industry that might also be able to provide them with additional information and ideas. That's it.
I mean, I don't know if this is for you, maybe it's more for Mr. Farrar, but, I mean, the intro to welding, we kind of know now we don't have the space. Are we still planning to get down the calendar for next year right now, and then?
Yeah, we are, it'll use an existing welding space when the other classes are not using it. So it's just making our space more efficient, using it more often.
Yeah, I just didn't know
Was
if we
that
were gonna
for
get.
welding or small engines or both, or?
That's for intro to welding.
Oh, the engines one's the one we're gonna run into a problem.
Yes.
And, you know, ideally, and there's a lot of decisions the board will need to make in the board office, but ideally that maintenance shed looks really nice, for extra space. Idea.
Oh, I know, I'm aware of all the discussions, I guess, I'm just, you know, if we're building a schedule and we don't have the space, you know, or
So-
we don't wanna set up kids for a situation where they you know, that the class can't happen.
So is this a need that wasn't identified during the planning process, or, you know, or is that, cause I know that the CT, I mean, this is a program that moves along and progresses as you identify needs and, you know, pathways and that kind of stuff. But just curious, you know, if we have a need for small engines, we're putting up steel on a new building, was that on the list and it didn't make the list with regards to priorities, or?
It just didn't, I think as we looked at, as we moved in parallel in advance, and I think Amber can kind of help on this just a little bit, but we were driven by budget at that time, and it really, when we talked about CTE, we didn't know how quickly that program was gonna grow, which, I mean, it obviously has continued to grow over the last couple of years, but really, we were more concerned about, keeping everything within a budget structure or a scope. And I think it wasn't part of that discussion. I don't think at any time were we talking about building a CTE building. Is that right?
Yep, I would agree. Yeah, we really did, I mean, we talked about how important CTE is to the community, but that the facility that you guys had, how new, you know, relatively new it was, and it had space in it at that time, you know, we had to really talk about how it was gonna expand.
there was a little bit of discussion about expanding the existing building, but then that ran into, space, parking lots and entrances and how that would, I remember that, how that affected food service. I mean, as you went to the west. So there was some discussion, but I don't think we were, it didn't go very deep at that time, 2 years ago.
So who's responsible for, taking the lead on finding that options or identifying those options? for
I
that
think,
space?
I think part of that will come out through our planning, master planning session. And, I know that Mr. Farrar and I have both talked about it, but we don't have anything, at this point. We don't have a definite plan. Some things have been kicked around. And as Mr. Farrar just mentioned, that if we were to move into the maintenance building, then we have to find a maintenance area.
Right.
That would benefit. That's as far as we've gone.
I mean, does the timeline for the master plan accommodate the need?
Probably not. I mean, it's gonna be awful close. I mean, because the master plan won't be done probably till what, May or June, Amber? And then we're turning right around into August. So I mean, it's gonna be, we won't have anything. We'll have answers maybe, but nothing immaterial.
Well, you might have a plan.
I think we can have a plan, don't you think? I think that's not unreasonable.
Is a plan good enough?
Well,
I mean, unless we can magically make some space appear, I don't know what else we can do but just keep planning and pushing forward.
Right.
Plan B would be something temporary.
Right.
I think that would be my answer.
Because and I can only speak for myself, but to me, these pathways and these programs are probably some of the most valuable things that we offer to our students. I mean, even those students who are going to a four-year school, I mean, these programs apply directly in application to what they're even, if you get an engineering degree, this is extremely valuable skills and real-world applications that you're learning.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
One thing that can you touch on the demand? I see some appendix and student enrollment data. I mean, because we talked a year or so ago about just understanding the demand and how, we know that the classes are full, but how many students didn't get in and how that's trending. It sounds to me like we've made progress in understanding that.
Yeah. Are you looking at a specific pathway?
I mean, in general, just that we're tracking how many students are requesting a certain class or an intro class or these classes and then not being able to get in them and how that might be impacting. And is it 10% over the capacity? Is it 20, 30, 50? The ag ones, it was a big number there.
At one point. So I think definitely adding that additional teacher has helped greatly.
Yes.
And the ag pathway, or ag program, they have 4 pathways. So they have a lot of courses that they can offer. So just by adding the other teacher, I'm just looking at page 7 right now. We were able to, 93 students requested the intro to ag and 90 were enrolled. So we have 4 sections, 4 different class periods of that. And we can add think that really depends on maybe what the student needs for graduation could impact. So I have like 3 students in my business class this semester, and I switch classes second semester. I'm like, oh, is everyone gonna stay? And 3 of them are like, no, Smith, like, we really wanted to be in your business management class, but we can't, we gotta fill this other need, another social studies credit for graduation, so I'm dropping out of your class. So sometimes you have those situations where you might have numbers drop if students decide to go to tech school, like Washburn Tech or KCK. Sometimes they take as many courses as they can within a program, and then they realize, hey, I can go get a certification and be that much more marketable. And so sometimes you'll see a drop in numbers that way. It would be very interesting to potentially track the reasons of that, maybe. And like if with the architectural engineering program, sometimes they have nested courses where they're teaching CAD and advanced CAD at the same time. Maybe Mr. Troyer has too many classes to teach for one teacher, so I'm looking on page 9. He has architectural engineering only on even years, okay? And then the following year, on an odd year, he'll offer mechanical engineering every other year. Sometimes students, you know, if they don't understand how they need to set their schedule long-term, might not meet prereqs, might not be able to get in. But sometimes we have to get creative with that rotating of classes. If the teacher has more classes than a block period.
Do some of these share or are occurring at the same time? They're just doing different activities like CAD versus advanced CAD? Because there's quite a bit of difference there in class.
Yes. So at the bottom of that, it says nested courses, and that just means there are actually 2 classes going on at the same time with that teacher.
Okay.
I did that one year where I had accounting 1 students at the same time as I had my advanced accounting. So those advanced students had already gone through accounting 1, and they were wanting to continue on. And so it was more of an independent study. I'd get accounting 1 students going, and I'd get advanced accounting, and then they could even help mentor the younger students in the class and help facilitate questions and answers as well. It was a good opportunity for them.
Oh, this is good information.
Thank you.
Just looking at the one that looks like it's at or over capacity is the general service 1 and 2. There were other.
For this current year, sir?
Well, no, wait, that's in the previous year. Okay, I see now, 18 to 19, so historical, okay. Yeah, so it looks like everything's on track now, okay.
We're trying to make sure that we are not at over capacity for safety of students, and, you know, some of the classes only have so many seats, like with the web and digital communications, they actually only have so many computers to actually teach the graphic design courses and the Photoshop, so we're trying to balance it out.
Thank you for all this and
Yeah, great.
the updates and the
Yeah, this is
report.
excellent.
Thank you for having me.
All right, yeah, super proud of our CTE programs, proud of the work Jody has done, and our CTE teachers. I know it's an area that is, our kids and our community is very interested in, and we're gonna, as we grow, do it appropriately so that our facilities will maintain. So, I wanna talk about a couple of other areas of growth that, we would love to look at the high school. The first one, is a media research or media resource teacher. So years ago, and it really wasn't that many years ago, but a while back, we used to have, every building had librarians. And the library was a place where kids came and they checked out books, and it was part of the curriculum, it was part of the instructional process in almost every classroom. And things have kind of changed as the world has become more digital, and we recognize this. And we recognize that as we design the new high school. And so one of the areas that I'm really, really excited about is the Media Center. The Media Center is truly the center, the heartbeat of our high school, of our new high school. So I just want to go over this proposed position that I would love it if the board would consider. Right now we have a media or a library clerk. The library clerk just makes sure the books get checked out properly, the books get returned properly, and they send out overdue fees. They do a lot more than that too, but it's really an old school way of thinking about it. This is a support and extension of the classroom teacher, the media resource teacher. They provide resources and support teachers, and they would really just partner with our classroom teachers as they provide their instruction. It's pretty critical to the success of the Media Center that people want to come into it, that it's an inviting environment where kids want to come and they want to learn. And if you had to really think about it, think about what a college would look like, where there's flexible space, it's a place where teachers will bring their kids and they would work together with that media resource teacher to help kids be successful and prepare for the future. They co-plan lessons that would emphasize effective instructional strategies. I've just got a few highlights on here. Provide guidance and support with technology integration. This is that media center or the library looks so much different than when I was in school. And if we continue to look at these spaces the same way we did 10 years ago when I was in high school, 30 years ago when I was in high school, then we're gonna not prepare our kids the way that we need to. They would work with administrators and content department chairs to coordinate curriculum and instructional support. They would support digital citizenship. And this is an area that we know, gosh, all the way down to elementary school, this is an area that we have got to focus on. Not just at school, but we need to partner with our parents and our community to help teach our kids what safe digital citizenship looks like. We know this is a challenge, and it occupies so much of our time on a daily basis. They would co-teach with our teachers when they come in. Our high school has shifted to a project-based learning in many of our classes, and one of the reasons CTE is so popular is because it is basically the first project-based learning pioneers in schools. Kids get their hands on items, and they work through it, they work with a team, and they solve problems together. This is an area that would support. We would assist in helping parents, and as we do partner with our parents and our community on teaching how to use digital devices and social media and to our advantage and not to bring us down, we would really reach out to our community to help do that, accomplish that. So this is one area that I think that our high school would really benefit, our students, and our staff, and our parents would really benefit from this new position. I think, there's, what was it, 5 years ago? Schools kind of went away from librarians, but in particular us, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
It's more than 5 or more.
Yeah. And I just think the reason that position went away is because we just didn't update it. We didn't keep up with what the priority was and what that learning environment looks like. And this central hub, this media center, is a perfect opportunity to do it. Any questions?
I mean, do our peers have this now and we're behind, or?
We have lots of high schools have media resource teachers. And I've worked with a lot of those administrators and those job descriptions and gone and visited with them, and yes, they do.
So
So when we move to one building, are we certain we don't have this person already in-house?
Oh, it's possible. It's possible. I think it needs to be a master teacher, a teacher that has experience, that matches the skill set that we're looking for. I don't think it should be a clerk. I think it needs to be a certified teacher.
How much time will it be spent in the classroom teaching versus, there's a long list of
I think
responsibilities?
this individual would be they'd spend their time in the media center working with teachers, partnering with teachers to provide instruction.
So not in the classroom code, just because it says co-teach?
Co-teach when they bring their kids, their students in there
Okay.
to the media center.
Okay.
We want kids to learn how to use it. And it would take, it is a little bit of a shift. I mean, this would take time to help teach our teachers how to utilize this position, because this is gonna up the game. It's gonna take it to another level.
We, was it last week, we had a focus group meeting on this topic. We had a lot of good discussion, a lot of good input, a lot of questions were asked of Mr. Farrar. So, I'll just be honest, I'm a strong proponent of this position. It would be an all-new position for us. It would add another 1.0 FTE to the high school. But just so you know, one of the tasks I was given during the focus group was to look at this budgetarily. And Lori kind of hit on it just real briefly when she gave her comment, but through some, I have about 3 different options that I feel I could do going into next year's budget that would successfully allow us to add this position. And I would feel very comfortable doing it. And probably the easiest one for us would be to switch some of our current general ed costs for custodial salaries into capital outlay, which we can do, we just have not done it. Currently, our maintenance salaries come out of capital outlay, but we could also do custodial. That would more than cover any of our additional costs. So that's just one, but there's even a couple more.
But that's a short-term solution.
No, that's long-term.
Long-term solution.
That's a long-term. That's not a 1-year, 2-year deal.
Okay.
Nope, that's long-term, absolutely. The other option, which we can't even figure, is if our head count would go back up and we had more students, then we got more Bay State aid, and then that's an easy solution. But I did not count that. I'm counting next year's budget as being flat, the same number that we've had the last 2 years, basically. So I'm not projecting growth. It'd be nice if we could, but can't do it. So, yes. But anyway, I am very comfortable that we could make this a long-term position.
I do think it's a good plan. We did design that whole school around the media center. And I think this is a good plan for how to utilize that space wisely and to encourage that utilization of it.
We have to approve something, since it's new, we have to approve
We're
something.
just
It's not
approving
like
the
we have a
position.
vacant teacher space that we can just fill with somebody that has these skills.
We would go through the process of opening it up for applications.
Any other questions I might be able to answer?
General question, with the new building, are there other teacher or position needs that are new that we'll have to fill in addition to this?
Well, no teacher. I don't foresee any teacher positions. No. I am getting ready to talk about another position that's not a teaching position.
Okay. And that one would be in addition, teacher or non-teacher positions outside of what you have listed in the agenda?
Let's listen.
Post-secondary coordinator position?
That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't necessarily have to do because of the new school design or
Right.
the thing.
That's growing.
That's, if we had that's kind of an ongoing need
Yes.
regardless of the structure of our
Right.
building.
Absolutely.
The point of my question was, just making sure that we have a forecast for, okay, we have the space, we allocated the space, and now we're filling the position. expecting to have other new positions coming up, you know, in the next several months to fill, just to know.
I don't anticipate it.
Okay.
All right, one more, last one. Okay, I think in the agenda it says post-secondary coordinator. I've got it listed here as a college and career coordinator, it's basically the same thing. I do want to talk a little bit about this. I think this is a super important position for a school the size of Tonganoxie High School. Lots of districts have these school districts, a lot of them are 3A, and I wouldn't say too far down below that, but 3A and up, I would say many of them, if not most, have a college and career coordinator. This is a really important position for providing opportunities for kids. We talked tonight about exposing kids to what options they might have. And this position would allow us to solely focus on a variety of things that will help expose those kids to opportunities. The Tonganoxie High School College and Career Coordinator will work with the THS building leadership to develop innovative college and career programs for the purpose of increasing connections. I've highlighted a couple of things that I did want to emphasize as far as business education collaborations. Student individual plans of study, we begin this in 6th grade. That doesn't mean that we're steering kids from 6th grade, hey, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Most of us, when you went to college, you didn't know for sure if you were going to complete this or want to be this person, even in your 2nd year of college. It took me maybe 3 years. I knew I was going to be a teacher, I just didn't know what I was going to teach. So, with the individual plans of study, we would partner with the middle school and spend time with the counselor here and kind of start to expose kids to what they might have interest in. Job shadowing and real-world business projects. I think that this position would coordinate with our local businesses and maintain those relationships and build off of those relationships so that we can, I mean, just imagine all the opportunities we could have with sending kids out for internships to get a taste of what this job may or may not be like. And then they can mark it off their list if that's not something that's interesting to them. Higher education relationships, assist students in the qualification enrollment process for dual credit and career opportunities. One of the things that we've recognized at Tonganoxie High School in the last few years is we have some really high qualified teachers that have a master's degree that can teach for college credit. Every opportunity that we have, we need to utilize that. And we've just started a new partnership with the University of St. Mary to do just that. And what we found is that the transferability of those credits is so much higher from a 4-year institution than it may or may not have been from a JUCO. I like junior colleges, they're really affordable, but we even got this partnership with St. Mary's, University of St. Mary, at a lower cost than the JUCO tuition rate. So we've got a great setup that's only going to get a lot more stronger as we move on with the University of St. Mary. Also, the West Campus. Once we get that renovation done, the far west side is going to be reserved for adult education. So we'll have classrooms on that far west side that we can invite the community in and take part in those classes and put themselves in a better standing. I'm really excited. Communications. Maintains communication for the purpose of enhancing future business affiliations and expansion of the college and career program, providing information regarding new and ongoing THS programs. And I think one of the biggest benefits of this would be the ability to communicate with our community and our parents about what we're offering. A lot of times, one of the complaints that I hear a lot of times is if we didn't know that was going on, we need to get that information out there, and this individual would be able to spend time communicating our big vision with our community and our parents. Monitors changes and or additions in the THS curriculum and pathways for the purpose of identifying opportunities to add value to the THS student experience. I'm just really excited about an opportunity to add a post-secondary and college and career coordinator, because I think that every single senior that we let go of needs to have some sort of plan. And maybe it's not the plan that's going to finish it, but it is going to be a plan that gives them an opportunity to know if it's going to be accurate, if they want to be really, truly interested, if they want to truly sink money, tuition dollars into a pathway or a future that really interests them. And I have, for years, struggled with the fact that so many kids, they leave high school, not just here, everywhere, they leave high school and they enter a post-secondary institution with no purpose. Our goal is to give them purpose. And by the time they leave Tonganoxie High School, they need to have that. That doesn't mean they have it all figured out. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me, but having that purpose will save them dollars and save their family dollars. So what questions can I ask or can I answer about this?
How does this, I mean, we're just basically going from, we currently have a halftime position that somewhat does this, correct?
Yes and no. We have a halftime CTE coordinator.
Okay.
And so what this would do, this wouldn't just help our post-secondary opportunities. This would allow us, we have a halftime business teacher and a halftime CTE teacher. What I would like to do is add another half to that business, right? Make it a full-time business teacher, like we were prior to this year. And the reason we're not this year is because we had to shrink our facility for construction. We lost our school store, which impacted our entrepreneurial program. We need to put that half-time FTE back on the business. Then that opens up the CTE position to be a full-time CTE. So we're adding half on each end, a total of 1 FTE.
So all new staff at the high school would equal 2.0
Yes.
FTE, not 2.5, but 2. And that's what I budgeted for when I worked on the projections.
Question, Mark.
Yeah.
So I think some of this stuff's great. Again, to you, Mark, do we have people that can do this? But hold that thought for a minute. My question back to you, Lauren. This is good stuff, but what happens if the middle school comes to you and says, hey, we need 4 new teachers? Are we gonna have the budget?
We've already had that discussion. We've had discussion with TES, TMS, and THS. We're good at the middle school, as I'm talking about going into next year, and even we think the year beyond. And we've had those discussions. They're not gonna come to us in 2 weeks and say, hey, we need more. That's the hope. It would take a pretty substantial increase of students returning in August for us to revisit this. And I'm pretty confident in that.
Okay, so back to you, Mark. Do we not have people able to do this in-house?
You mean currently?
Absolutely.
With the staffing that we already have.
Like double duty?
We have counselors that work on this. But really, what they're doing is 2 staff members are doing 3 jobs. In a school that's a large 4A school, it's very difficult to provide the classroom scheduling, the crisis management, the social emotional, and post-secondary coordinator position. It's a tough balance.
Okay. Just trying to make sure we're maximizing what we're getting out of our people.
Sure. Good question.
Would this person also help coordinate, I guess, the clubs and organizations that are in the school already, encouraging kids to participate or get involved if that's a path that they're following too? I didn't see that
Sure.
exactly.
They absolutely could. This is a document that I've worked on with our administrative team, and it doesn't mean it's final, but I think there's going to be lots, like the last thing it says, performs other related duties as assigned. Absolutely, we'll be
you already know this, as a parent, this is my biggest frustration, because as a parent, I try to figure out what classes should my kids take, and like right now, I have a son that's interested in, electrical engineering. He has no idea what electrical engineering is, so I'm trying to find somebody that is an electrical engineer where he can go shadow them to decide if that's something that he's interested in. It would be great if the school could actually help provide some of that guidance for these kids, because I think a lot of them flounder, and we talked earlier about missing out on courses that they actually need to take other courses. That happens all the time. It's happened to my kids that, oh, I can't take that because I was supposed to have to take this last year, or it's only offered every other year and I can't take it now. So I do think having somebody that's actually focused on preparing kids for the future is incredibly important.
And in the design, just more information, in the design of the new high school, there is a really nice office, a large space, I would say. It's a large kind of community space. It's called College and Career. And that would be an awesome space, a resource for our kids to know, hey, I've got questions, I'm going to the College and Career Coordinator office.
Maybe we could put our small gas engines in there. Just saying.
So Lauren, in your analysis on budget, you feel like there's room for this?
Yes.
But you also said something about moving custodians or something into capital budget.
Right, we could do that.
So, personal opinion only, if that function ought to be in capital budget, we ought to put it there. If it shouldn't be in capital budget, we shouldn't put it there. But moving that around to fund this is kind of funny money. So we ought to figure out where the custodians go and put them there, and make sure this stands on its own.
Okay, so up until about 3 years ago.
And I like this, by the way, but I don't like the funny money.
No, I get it. Up until 3 years ago, you could not take maintenance or custodial salaries out of capital outlay. That all came about through the block grants and all that. So this is an after effect of that. So and so as people were under financial restraints, the first group they moved over was maintenance, which we don't have as many people, but we do. I mean, we have a pretty good sized custodial group. And then in the last 2 years, we were able to do that. We just had not done it yet.
And I'm good.
That frees up general fund.
I'm good with all that, but I just want to make sure that we're thinking about what we're spending in totality.
Yes.
Not thinking about which bucket it comes out of.
No, Justin, I agree wholeheartedly, but I feel real good about it. Now, that's one strategy. Like I said, there's a couple
I
others.
get that. I want us to be
Yeah.
clear.
But I think we're
You
good.
don't want to be bouncing around from year to year where you put the different money.
No,
Well,
we're not.
I don't want to say we had extra budget, so we spent it. We didn't have extra budget because we moved something somewhere else. So, I mean, I understand that in school finance, the bucket that it comes out of matters, but in total dollars, it's still total dollars. So I just want us to be thoughtful about
Yep.
that.
I think it's a good point.
We've talked in the past about somebody or a communications director. How does this impact that or constrain it? Or-
That's what we can talk about, and once again, depends on, we have over $385,000 in maintenance salaries coming out of general fund right now. And when I did all the figuring and looking at this, we're gonna need anywhere between, for next year, anywhere between 185 and probably 205,000 in new general fund monies. So just moving maintenance covers all three positions. I mean, it could potentially cover both the high school and communications director if that was what we wanted to do. We could. And did
I mean,
I
asked Lauren to keep working on the communication director, as the academic thing seemed to be the priority.
Right, yes,
And
I agree.
with about 3 different options that he shared and Lauren had worked through, I mean, I think there's ample money to make that happen. I think figuring out how the communication director fits in, what their duties are.
Right.
And if the resources are there, it's kind of the bottom of the list. So
Right.
it's still being talked about, it's just
Yeah,
not
I
the
just
action
wanna
item
know,
tonight.
I mean, I don't think any answer would change my support on these, it's just to understand
I get
how that
I
might
think the
change.
number, I think our head count trends is a big,
That's huge.
And
was-
with the study that, for this strategy, RSP, with trying to do that, I think that may help us kind of know what is our population trends and number of students, and we can maybe get a little more fine tuned on our budget in terms of forecasting that,
Yes.
especially with the pandemic impact. Any other questions for Mark regarding Lauren for these positions and the update on the high school?
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks for your patience, Amber and Aaron. Can you take a quick?
I need a quick break.
Time out.
Can we take a little?
You can still stay.
3-minute recess or something like that?
Sure, I'll
Eat your cake.
I would like
With
to.
your fingers or what?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It does
I'm gonna
look
go see if
good.
there's a cookie over there.
There are cookies up there. Chris is out there. Did you? I spent some time baking. Yeah.
You can quit taking credit for that. Someone's getting an eval later. Might be some new information in there. Oh, better count.
It's board appreciation month. So what did you bring? What did you bring?
Information.
That's what you told me about my Christmas gift card. I got a very nice gift.
I saw, yeah.
And from DLR.
All right, go ahead. So I didn't bring anything to present. I was planning to answer any questions that y'all had from the other information that I've shared. So we have the approach that the process that I walked y'all through when I was sent a couple examples, and I'm not sure if anybody had the chance to look at those. They were giant documents. It's why I didn't print any, but I will answer any questions anybody has about those, or the process, or the amendment, anything else.
Well, I think basically we kind of agreed to go to, to start this process based on what you outlined last time. I mean, I think the details was down to arranging a contract, and I think that's in our packet to approve later.
So, you mind, I'm explaining how this would be an amendment to our current contract. That's the first thing.
That's exactly right, yeah. So that way the terms of the existing contract we already have still all apply, the general conditions and all the terms that go with that, as far as, every piece of that existing contract, from, how we get paid to how paperwork gets worked out, what our services look like, how you can fire me, all that kind of good stuff is all within those terms. And so all we do is amend that with this new document that talks about the scope, and then the not to exceed fee that we had, hourly, not to exceed fee that we had talked about before.
So that, like, I guess an example here, maybe I don't have the right, if we wanted a different, not to exceed limit,
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
just an easy change to the document or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. And we talked about before, the hourly allows us to kind of mold this as we go. So that way, if we discover you want more or less than something in one of the steps, we can make those modifications and go, and then when we hit or get close to, as I talked about before, we're gonna really track with you guys. So if we're at 10% of the process, I can say we've spent 10% of the hours, we're right where I expect us to be. Or we're at 20%, but we've spent 30% now of the hours, and here's the reason why. We went deeper in this one area, we did these other extra steps as requested, just to kind of keep you updated. But yes, that not to exceed number can be what you're comfortable with, and I plan to just keep you updated as we go along, at whatever interval you're comfortable with.
And you feel, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, one more. Thank you, Justin. I know we already kind of engaged the firm to do the
demographic.
RSP.
They've worked.
I don't know, have we discussed anything about when we would start all the different meetings and things like that?
Yeah, so
If we approve, assuming we approve to this tonight.
right. So our research and discovery and conditional assessments would start immediately. And I think I wrote back to, I don't know if everybody saw that, but my RSP data really has to come into my estimating cost of existing facility stuff. And that's because their capacity, their enrollment projections really weigh into that factor of cost within these existing buildings. If we know that there's some bubble coming in there, you have to worry about capacity and how we're gonna affect that. That has cost associated with it. So we can get our task 1 and task 2 started immediately and work through those. RSP has told me before they're like a 12-week. I don't know what they told you. They probably zeroed in on it better. So some of their work can be concurrent with ours, and then once they get us that data, then we can move on through task 3 and to the rest.
So are we, you're saying theirs is 12 weeks, so we wouldn't really be meeting until, we're not trying to have a meeting in the next 30 or 60 days.
I know, if you're talking the community meetings, or, so.
I'm just in general, sorry, I'm kind of catching, and we got some other, we're talking about trying to maybe do a strategic planning.
Yep. Yep. So
We do a lot of meetings. I'm trying to avoid too much meeting fatigue, but.
I understand, absolutely. So, probably the biggest piece in task 1 is, as we similarly started out our bond planning process with setting guiding principles and knowing exactly what you're wanting to get out of this process, that'd be really the piece that we need to do that would involve you to be done. Then we go through task 1, which is that research and discovery, and task 2, which is our conditional facility assessments. Those 2 tasks really on our own without too much having to get your time, except getting you updates on what we're doing. That helps you a little bit. So that, you have a few months of really, we're working nose down, just doing our work on our side of things.
That gives me a kind of a ballpark. Any other questions?
So I feel pretty comfortable with the idea that time and materials lets us hold the purse strings, and we take this project as near or as far as we want to, you know, within the $50,000 or beyond the $50,000. The questions that I have are, do you think the $50,000 is a realistic number to accomplish, you know, say the two examples you gave us, right? So I don't know whether that's where Tonganoxie would take it, but do you feel like that, are those $50,000 master planning documents, or are those $250,000?
Smithville is a $50,000 document, and if you notice, that's a similar sized district, and
Okay.
that's why I say that, because the number of facilities we have to go through, the staff that I require to come out and do those things, that's, Lee Summit, you probably all know, that's a much larger district, and that was a much larger effort. The other thing I'll say about Lee Summit is they were, their community outreach component was gigantic. In fact, we had a consultant even on that piece that helped run some of it, and so that is not a $50,000 assessment, and I don't think it's a problem, because it's not what you guys have asked for, so.
Okay, and so my secondary question is, you know, effectively the scope is where we take it, but we need to make sure we know where we're going. So what you had just said interested me, and you said as we kick off, we will get together and, you know, I think of it almost like a project charter, right? I don't know what the right terminology would be, but is that really step number one? So we're gonna sit down and say, where do we want this to go, and how do we keep this within the $50,000? Is that what you would envision?
Yes. And to me, I mean, I think the fee piece is secondary to really what you want your master
I
plan
agree.
document to achieve for you.
I agree.
Yeah, so that really defines the scope.
And then, yeah.
Because right now we only have a 2-sentence scope.
Yeah, I
Two
mean.
paragraphs, but the scope section is really 2 sentences.
Yeah, you have the 7-step approach that I talked to you about, so.
Right, but the examples that you gave, like, didn't include, it had summary tables in there, and it gave rankings for different things, but it didn't show, okay, what does that ranking mean as far as dollar-wise? Like, you know, for our facilities, even after we get the new school done, you know, in 15 years, every single air handling unit will probably, or most of them will need to be replaced. How much does that cost? You know, the documents that you gave looked like almost executive summary level stuff, and I would expect there's a ton of backup information there with regards to full inventories and what level of detail is in there. Because I mean, for myself, what I want to know out of this is to be able to take this, plug it in, along with a full budget forecast, and understand, based upon our student growth, when the next time we need on our current path, when the next time we need a bond, do we have to raise taxes? And under what scenarios or circumstances could we avoid that based upon our current path? So that we have an understanding of decisions that we make today, how does that impact our ability to take a bond without increasing taxes in the future?
But
That's ultimately what I'm looking for.
I mean, that's part of the process, like Justin said, of setting the scope and knowing what the costs are. I mean, if that extra detail costs $25,000 or $50,000 more than the rest of the board, I mean, that's what
Right.
you want.
Right, and that's why I stipulated that, right? That's what that thing that I'd like to have answered out of this. But,
Here's my view of the world, though. So as we get into that level of detail, if all of a sudden this is a $250,000 project, you know, this is a time and materials agreement. We can call Amber and say, hey, thank you for the 17 hours you've spent on it thus far, but we're not gonna go spend $250,000.
right.
I mean, that's a fair statement, right?
Absolutely, yep. My hope would be we would find what you guys want.
So-
Find what the right level and.
So follow-up to that would then be, Payson, am I correct that there was that level of detail in the $50,000 study that you already did that showed costs, you know, projections for, you know, the equipment as well as, you know, both facility equipment and then just classroom equipment? Was that included in there, just not sent with the attachments?
So in Smithville, it was a combined effort between them and between us and a CM. So that's why I didn't include it, because it's not completely authored by DLR group.
Okay.
So it was worked on in conjunction, yes, it was worked on within that whole process. I guess if I had to put a price on it, it would be more than the 50, because that CM had hours of it that I don't know what their price is, that they aided in that case, because they had CM hired to help with that process. They did a flip-flop of you guys, so they did it in planning to a bond, so kind of along with how we did bond planning here, they did it kind of master planning that led to bond planning that led to a bond, so.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. And then the other thing I didn't see was, any information on the team, right? So is it, as far as who the team would be that would be on the project?
Yeah, I'm happy to share all of that, absolutely, that's no problem. I'm happy to present, to work on that, absolutely. I mean, I have, a lot of continuity between people who, engineers who've already worked on your building out here already,
Right.
that have good knowledge of Tongahassie.
Yeah, I just didn't know if they were available or if
Right.
it's all
Yep,
people or.
yep, yeah, no, there's, I couldn't tell you the number, but there's quite a bit of overlap of people who already have. So what I could do is, I can work on a Teams page that would, a kind of a resume page that would show you who all I'm proposing to work on this.
Is this kind of back to my earlier question about timing, like, would this be something we could piece in with the strategic planning thing for what the board's doing, and then kind of lead off with you guys and then do our own thing? I mean, is this something maybe we should get the first part of this kind of rolling early, just to lay out some basic principles of what we're looking for and things? Would that help you, not help you?
Absolutely, I think the two have to be done in conjunction with each other, absolutely.
Because there's definitely overlap.
Absolutely there is, and that's what I'm wondering, I mean, I think you were referring to start my process first. I was kind of wondering, yes.
Well, I think some of I keep using strategic plan. I think they're just some general goals for the bigger, maybe it's not all facility, I don't know. I mean, facilities is probably part of that,
I would like to know that you had all those things lined out how you want them, so then you know exactly what you want out of me, so.
It seems to me like it'd be better to be done with the strategic plan before you start it.
talk with her, that's it. And you need some time anyway, so, okay. I'm trying to.
It's probably somewhat iterative back and forth,
It is.
but at least if you get a start, you have a start.
Yeah.
Right, so.
All right. Any other questions for Amber?
So I need to get you a, kind of a little resume of the people who will be on the team. Anything else that I need to provide anyone?
I think I'm good.
We'll work on timelines. I think that's my biggest question.
No, and I think for Amber, the value that we place on people that know Tonganoxie, and we don't have to go back to ground zero, is high. So to the extent that there's availability and they're the right skill set,
Yep.
that would be the preference.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and that would be the nice thing too. I mean, with this process, you guys aren't under, you're not like, you gotta get this done by July 1 or whatever. So that gives me the chance to make sure I can extend it if I need to get the right people out here at the right time.
Would you be the VM?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it would be me, absolutely. It's me and my team. But my engineers, those guys, you guys know, they work on a lot of stuff, so if we can fit, I can fit it in easier, because you guys aren't on some crunch about trying to get this done, so get the right people out here. Okay?
Super.
So we just stick around for the.
I might have one question as Erin goes through her deal,
Okay.
but she may not be able to answer it.
Okay, I'll stick around. Thank you.
That's a challenge.
Challenge
That's a
accepted.
challenge.
Come on up.
You got her attention, Chris.
I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
Come on up.
Wow.
Yeah, no pressure. Thank you. Now I'm just really curious what this.
You may just ask my question out here.
Anticipation's killing me.
So my question is, we've talked about this water line and I beat this water line to death. How did that happen?
So,
Yeah.
this is referencing there's a water line that runs when the final grades for the building were set, the civil engineer had to make some adjustments to the grade of that entry. And so when they made those final adjustments, it was too close from the clearances of ground coverage to that existing water line. So, it would have had to been done. Either way, it's just the timing of when it got picked up.
So-
It picked up before the, GMP documents were sent out.
So we didn't have accurate or good data on existing utilities during
No.
design or engineer from civil.
I wouldn't know, I think it's more just they just missed the calculation. And
Okay.
so it had to do with, it wasn't like the road was below the water line, it was just low enough to where it didn't have enough coverage. So the water line had to be lowered to
Okay.
meet those city requirements.
All right, fair enough.
It wasn't something that was dealt with this, I mean, they moved a lot of utilities first.
They didn't catch the conflict before the final, permit documents were completed. They didn't catch it until after they started the construction.
All right.
Did that cause us any additional cost just for it being later, or is it purely just that it was after the GMP and it would cost them the same amount either way?
From a practical standpoint, it did not cost any more. Now, whether you would have gotten it cheaper had it been in the original bid documents, maybe, but you can't really put a precise value to that.
All right, good enough. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Amber.
Thank you.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Are you pulling up your monthly projection? Is that what you want?
Yeah, the monthly status
Do
report.
you guys all have your monthly status?
Yeah, I
Yep.
got it in front of me, you know, was anybody else, or?
It's in the board docs.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Let's-
I don't know why.
There you
Okay,
go.
there it is.
There you go. You're up.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so, zoom in here, gonna give you a little update on the budget. So really no changes with the, construction GMP values. There has been a little bit movement within the contingencies themselves, just kind of forecasting out some, other changes that are in the works or have been, previously discussed before. This past month, there's just been two, smaller change orders that Lauren has, that has been approved. And those are, I have a whole full summary of that attached on the last page of this. So within the, $1 million contingency that's in the, GMP, the current value based on executed change orders is the, 884. I'm forecasting that to, 750. That, includes a couple of owner, items, owner request items. One is the addition of the fire sprinkler to West Campus. You remember there was a estimated amount put into the GMP. Right now, McCown's numbers are coming back about 20 to 30 grand over that. Haven't vetted that through yet. And then the other one is, we've talked about before, some additional abatement work in the West Campus that McCown's still getting the final price on. So those are forecasted into that and the major part of that change there.
How are we tracking, our contingency spend versus percent complete on the overall project? Because we're 25% spent, or, we're forecasting 25% spent on contingency, yet I don't think we're 25% of the way.
Well, it's 25% on the $1 million.
Right.
But we also have 1.8 million and 425 Getting out of the ground though, you know, obviously, it's not just about percent completed the total project, it's also,
Where
when
the
I
risk
do
is.
that, where your risk is. So getting out of the ground removes a big part of that risk when we get to the next milestone of closing the building. And then we have, you know, the second part of the
Demo
project
at
too,
the-
so, yeah. So I can do a little bit more detailed calculation on that. So I haven't specifically run that calculation. Okay, substantial completion dates, no updates here. Still, next one is really the learning center completion, at the end of the year. So weather days, December, there was only one used weather day, there's 6 in the contract, so, good there. I think they did claim 1 or 2 at the beginning of January with the snow and all the rain. It was quite muddy out there, but they still, they've still stayed on schedule and, proceeding with steel, actually, a little bit ahead of schedule on the steel portion. I'll get to that.
Remind me on the weather days, that's a net for the whole project?
It's technically on a per month basis, so the way the contract reads that it, because of what part, the critical path impacts per month basis, but it's not like they ask for a change order on a per month basis. So it's really, it really ends up being kind of an aggregate
So
situation.
they would have the right to ask for a change order, but they may not realistically do that depending on where they were.
Right, so like in November, there was a net negative 3 days, but we didn't actually lose any time on the schedule. So they, you know,
Okay.
wouldn't need to request any sort of change. Because the hope is, and you know, Cam's been really good to work with on this, that they will make up that time as time goes on.
In regards to that, and I understand what we're talking about with weather days and whatnot, but do we have a drop dead completion date?
Yes,
We do.
yeah. I mean.
So that would only become a discussion topic if they didn't meet that completion date.
Correct,
Fair enough.
per phase. So they have a substantial
I'm
completion.
talking about overall.
Yes. So, but they have a substantial completion date contractually for the learning center that's under construction right now.
Okay.
And they also have a substantial completion date contractually for the new gymnasium addition.
Okay. All right.
So, it could be per phase based on those delivery dates.
Right.
How
Okay.
many months have we been in construction? When did we first kick?
October, November, December.
October?
Well, sorry, it was mid-September.
September?
Yeah. So 3.5, almost 4 months.
What's our total months of duration for the overall project?
So you got 12, 14,
Or just a day?
24, 28.
28? Okay.
Okay. So other key milestone dates, the Learning Center slab on grade is complete and was completed as scheduled. The Learning Center structural steel start date, we've reached that milestone, that you've driven by and seen that start to fly in the air. I have some pictures later. If you recall in previous month reports, that start date was about this time in January. So they did beat that by a little bit, and that's why they've been able to stay on schedule despite losing a little bit to weather. So really, you'll be seeing steel and exterior framing starting later this month. And then the next major milestone is north parking lot site work, which is basically the whole parking lot in front of the main entry to the school. Will start as soon as school releases for the summer. So we'll be Cameron's already starting to put some strategic plans together on that, along with some other renovations within the existing school building. And we'll, start rolling those out and get some communication out on those. Then Learning Center building dry-in, in July. So hit safety real quick, still going really well in that regard. No job site injuries or last time accidents have been reported. So going through some other project highlights and outstanding issues. So last time we met, I talked about a little bit of work that was gonna happen over the winter break. So they completed some roof drain tie-ins in the TPAC area. They also replaced the HVAC units on the CTE and completed the repolish of the concrete floor in front of the existing gymnasium entry. And if any of you've been over there, and I failed to include a picture of it in this, so I can add one to next month's, but as they were starting to grind that, they pointed out that there was still some unlevelness in the floor that was causing some inconsistency. So we had them go ahead and do a little bit additional grind to get that floor really looking good and have a consistent finish, and I think it turned out really great. So they were a good partner to work through and really took pride in what they were doing and wanted it to look good in the end. DLR, McCown-Gordon QAPC review, I had this on here for a little while, still working through some building connection details and just making sure that really understanding the walls that the new buildings are tying into and getting those details for waterproofing right. So I forecasted some in there for changes associated with that and plan to bring that to the board next board meeting for discussion. FF&E procurement, we're gonna start final furniture design. We just set up a meeting to go look at, go visit some other schools to look at their administration areas, and still evaluating some of the test furniture that was moved over to the West Campus to get some more teacher feedback on that. Forrest is working on getting all the data cabling bid out through E-rate, and also gonna get all these security devices, cameras, card readers, and all that bid out over the next couple of weeks as well. So last month we talked a little bit about mood management, and I've been working with Lauren and Mark Farrar a little bit on discussing what that scope looks like, getting some proposals and information together. So hoping that we can have something to present to the board at next month's meeting, of what the suggestion is there to help the district with the various moving parts of this move. And then project design enhancements. We've been working on a list of potential enhancements to the current scope of the project, mainly around the West Campus and TPAC and gym renovations. Additional painting, flooring, ceiling upgrades, those kind of things. So got a scope together, meeting with DLR this week to talk through it with them and get it out for some actual hard pricing. At that point, we'd like to discuss it with the board and talk through the priorities of that list and what those impacts are to the overall project budget. So I think we're possibly looking at doing that in March.
As you're looking through that scope, can you at least directionally give us an indication as to how the cost might change if they didn't do it in parallel with the existing projects, and if we did it down the road?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's definitely some things that are more easily locked off, than other things, so I can, for sure make some notes along that. Don't write it down, I'll forget it.
No, it doesn't need to be, just kind of a directional statement would be all I'd be looking for.
All right, so, you have this in the packet, a few photos of the job site last week when it was, cold and rainy, and you got to slop around in the mud. So you can see the, building D, which is, the cafeteria commons. All that steel was completed, and they just moved the crane around, to the north side of the building to start setting, area F, which is the admin wing and hallway. Going up fast.
I have a question on that picture just kind of reminded me, that door that comes out from T-Pack, that's like, it's lowered now, right? So it's gonna be one fluid area, you won't have to go up any stairs, is that right?
No, there'll still be a change in elevation
There will
between
be.
the two buildings.
Okay, I thought we were trying to adjust for that to make sure there wasn't much of a change, but that wasn't possible.
Yeah, I mean, it was adjusted a little bit, but, yeah, there's still a ramp and stairs, between the two buildings.
Okay.
Okay, and then I have this detailed summary of the, change orders that have been approved to date. So on this, I think the current approval limit, for Lauren is it 200 or 250 on change orders? The aggregate approval limit for change orders you have is 250,000?
On the aggregate, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so we're about 150
Right.
aggregate right now.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I think just wanted to bring that up, so it's probably something that in the next couple of months, will need to be on the agenda.
Okay, so is your forecast so many months in advance then?
Yeah, it's basically the things I know of right now.
Okay.
So it may be something that doesn't get approved for 2 or 3 months, like the abatement, the flooring abatement in West Campus, it's not schedule critical, but I know it's coming, so I have that in there.
Okay.
Other things will come up that aren't in there that I don't know about yet.
Okay,
But yeah.
that helps.
So yeah, I'll just work with Lauren, and when we get close to that amount, we'll plan to, put that on the agenda to discuss.
Yeah, I'd like to see when that comes up, just, what our monthly commitment was for contingency and then what we're forecasting out, so that, because we have those other contingencies, but if we can forecast out to say, oh, we are gonna be able to get within that, or we're currently trending to be over that, we need to move money versus just knowing we're gonna run out and then do it later. I'd rather
Is
do
it,
it proactive.
is that just a trend though? And I guess I'm just thinking that if something big came up, that would just blow that.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yes or no? I mean,
But it's, you know more now than you did, and a lot of times, I mean, there is a trend in a forecast, and then you're going, okay, well, how much of that is things that we decided to go ahead and do because it was convenient, or things that we had to
Okay.
do?
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns?
we're working on furniture, we're working on, you set that all up, audio visual. A lot of work was gone into that with Forrest. and
Yeah,
his input.
I didn't give an update on that really. I had on here the AV designs due by the
Yeah.
29th, and I actually think we're gonna beat that. I think they should have it done by the end of this week. But KCAV's been a great partner, and that process has gone really, really smooth. Forrest and Mark and Lauren have all been integral in getting that, and I think
at some point. We've talked about this, but we're gonna have to talk about the transition of the move, which you've mentioned, and what that all entails, and what do we do with all the extra old equipment? That's gonna be another, you're gonna help us tackle that too, I think, and
Yeah.
that'll be pretty significant. We have no place to store all that, so we'll have to make a decision on what happens with the old furniture.
So I'm meeting another vendor, out there this week to kind of get their thoughts and, how they can help with that process, but, I think there needs to be, part of that proposal that will come, next month is just some suggestions on an extra set of hands to help the district plan, all those phases and organize, move in, move out, dispose,
Right.
all those extra steps that have to happen, so the construction team can continue to meet their deadlines. So, all right,
A lot going on.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
It's not bedtime to do this. I'm gonna drive home real slow.
You know this is being recorded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's being recorded and online, so.
Won't come out of it. Thank you.
They could watch you present next time, and then probably have to go to sleep. It keeps us awake. No, that came out wrong. I figured it would bore kids. It's good for us, it's boring for kids.
Man.
Good recovery.
Oh, no.
Fire me.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Great job.
In 2024.
All right.
Thanks, Eric.
Let's speed this up. We've been here a while. Consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Is there a second?
Second.
Got that, Audrey? Been moved, Chris and Justin. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Public comment. I don't see anybody here for public comment. Superintendent report.
Okay, I've got just a few things to go through rather quickly. We've been posting our COVID numbers either Monday or afternoon or Tuesday morning, depending on I guess the week, basically, if we have school on Monday. But Forrest has been posting those on our website, and I think it's gone well. I mean, if you want to look at them, you can see them. Obviously, our most quarantines and positives are occurring with the older kids, high school, and there's been very limited numbers at the middle school, and the elementary numbers, of course, are much lower. But we're tracking all that, and I don't know if most of you I know have maybe took a peek, like at our Leavenworth County positivity numbers. They continue to drop. Again, this week, they're down, is it 8.8? I glanced. But they're down almost over a percent point from last week, for whatever reason. And we all know that there's still could be a wave after Christmas, as everybody is forecast, but we haven't seen that yet. Okay, and then another project that I've been working on, for the last couple of weeks, took a break kind of during Christmas break, was the Beatty Field lighting project, and several of the board members have asked me for additional information or have had questions, which were all been very good. And what I've looked at is switching a national bid company from Keystone, which honestly just didn't give us enough data or information, to Equalis, which is another national bid company out of Plano, Texas. I visited with them for about an hour today. Very, very helpful. They sent me a lot of information as far as the membership. There is no fee to become a member. It's about a 2 to 3 day. Lori and I would have to fill out the membership application. It takes a couple, 3 days in order for it to be accepted, which, I mean, I'm sure we would be accepted. The one thing that I liked about Equalis was, and I think I shared a lot of this, I don't know, not all board members, but I know Justin, I think I shared this with you and maybe a couple of the board members. Part of their presentation is they do include bid tabulations. Have you seen this yet, Drew? Here you go. I know I got copies here. find it, what'd I do with it? Here you go, take this one. I know I have it. Oh, here we go. Does anybody else want to see it? This is what it is. But it does have a rubric in which anybody that is a qualified vendor applies through Aqualis, and it's an RFP, it's a much more detailed RFP process, and it does show more of the scoring on anybody that was a vendor. And Justin, I know one time you asked about that one, why they didn't have a score, but on the second page, green lighting, and I did find out why they did end up with a competitive score. They didn't meet the qualifications. They had to have at least, in phase 2, they had to have a cumulative score of over 100. And they just didn't meet that. They didn't turn in enough information to get a score. And one thing they did tell me, you know, on lights like this, this is a very good, I mean, it's not a competitive field. There's just not that many companies out there that do it. And so they struggle to find people that will bid on these kind of things. And we had that discussion too. But I did like some of the information they provided. Once again, we would then inform, if we approve going with Aqualis, then we would, you know, tell them what project we have. They would then send us the results of the best bid. They're still, in these companies, they still don't send you dollars, you know, like who got second. This is what we're gonna get, is a bid tabulation. And I don't know that process, but
They kind of tell you who got second, they just don't give you exact dollars.
yes, that's exactly right.
To me, my whole, and you know, I called the guy from Keystone at your recommendation. The whole deal with Keystone was, I don't know what they may have provided like this had they received additional bids, but they did not receive additional bids. They just won. So, had Keystone received 3 bids, they may provide equal
I didn't know that.
data. But, so to me, that's gonna be the whole trick with the Aqualis is, can they get us some more bids, or is there 1 bid? And I would argue we
I'm
need more
confident
bids.
we'll get 2. I don't know about 3,
Okay.
but they're gonna try. I mean, that's what they said.
Well, I think, you know, big thing is trying to get a little competition in the process.
Okay.
So, with these though, cause the other one, then we had a local company that they, I don't know, subcontract, is that what that word is?
Yeah.
You know, that installs it, right? Or, you know, they were, like, the guys that were here
Yes,
represented the
Capital
local
Electric.
company that would install it. that-
Yes.
Right? So does that work with all of the, is that how it works?
If Musco,
With-
well, they all have
Yes, it
favorite
depends.
vendors.
I'm guessing they're all different, but.
Yeah.
Oh, they all
Musco
are.
almost predominantly works with Capital Electric.
Okay. Well, the only thing is, I know that historically, if we ever have issues at the school, we're always calling those guys that work for that Capital
Mhm,
Electric,
mhm.
and they're always helping us.
Right.
So.
I think that partnership is in place.
I mean, we don't know what other bidders we're gonna get and what
Right.
that process
Right.
is.
I
I mean,
just-
I guess you have to factor that in when you get the bids. We're not
Yeah.
required to take the lowest bid, but, I mean, the point is to be competitive and then see how.
Right.
Okay, to me, I think, right, so that's up for a later
I
discussion.
think I understand where you're going, Kyle, but I think if there's a problem with the lighting, you could still call Capital Electric. I mean, Capital Electric didn't install the current lighting system,
Right.
Yeah.
so I think that's an opportunity. If that's where you were going with that.
Yeah, I was.
Support, warranty, work like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I just was, I just think, I don't know the right terminology, but I just think that we've always called upon those Capital Electric employees to help us when we have issues. So then, if then we try to save $10 by going with another company that doesn't give them the business, and then we keep calling them to help out when there's a problem, I think that that's bad
Yeah.
business.
And my push wasn't to save $10 or not necessarily. My push was, I'd like to see some more bids so we at least know we're competitive. I mean, if one of them's a better product and better service, I'm not opposed to it. I didn't like the idea of a single bid.
Right.
So did Keystone provide any information that, on why they only got one bid, or was it no response, or? Cause the other thing is, I don't wanna exercise.
I think you answered a little bit of it.
Musco.
I just didn't, I just had a much better discussion with the Collis than I did with Keystone. And
So I think there's two things. I think number one, I think it is a limited number of
bidders.
providers and contractors to do it. Number two, with these national bids, I think there's, some of these organizations just don't wanna jump through the hoops that they have to do to qualify for these national bids. So I think there's those two things. I mean, we could clearly run a local RFP process if we wanted to, but I'm not sure that gets us anywhere.
Yeah, I just don't wanna.
We have no allegiance to Keystone. The first bidder, I actually, after going through this, felt a lot more comfortable with Collis.
Yeah, cause I mean, from my perspective, this answers my questions and understand how it was rated, the rating of it, and everything. This is kind of what I was expecting
Yep,
from
I agree.
Keystone.
I agree.
I think if we get something like that with, 2 or 3 or 4 bids in it, then we'll have what we need to make a decision.
Yeah.
That answer your question, Drew? You're good?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you, appreciate it. It was a process. And then the board has asked about a possible goal setting or strategic planning, whatever you call it, which we didn't, I don't think we did one last year. We did it my first year. And I think that's something I agree that we need to do, all sit and have a good discussion. And it'll tie into what we all heard tonight, with master planning and all that. So I think we're gonna try to line that up. I don't know yet when we will do that. So we'll work on that, but it'll probably be March or sometime in that, or later. I don't think it'll be before that unless we have an internal discussion to decide that. And then we did get a surprise last week. It's nice to get a surprise once in a while, but federal government released the second round of ESSER funds, 4 times larger than the initial round. And so we went from 137,947 to 603,545, over a 2-year period. And so that was released by KSDE last week. And so as of March 1, we will have access to those funds. And so that was nice to get.
Is there any time limit or constraints on that?
Really, they almost opened up the usage to be more liberal than it was the first round. One thing they are emphasizing is the academic piece, which Tanya and I talked about, is a lot of people are enhancing summer school because of just closing that achievement gap. The challenge that we know about summer school is getting attendance. I mean, we use it at the high school for credit recovery or graduation, just those kinds of things. We haven't, Gail, when was the last time we did it at elementary?
It's been several years.
And so that is something we want to take a hard look at. I mean, is that something we can do in June, probably, this year? And so we'll be talking about that. But we gotta get, I mean, you don't want to plan for 150 and have 60 kids show up. So, but we'll have to do some work on that. And that's a priority. The other thing they talked a lot about, which I'm not sure that's in our best interest, is air quality seems to be a hot topic. How do you improve your air systems in buildings? I mean, that was added as something you could use the money for. That's a big ticket item, obviously. So, but I don't know. We haven't evaluated that.
For the summer school idea, are you doing winter map testing?
Yes.
So using that data might help you identify kids that are already behind, and then already going and planning, like asking those parents and surveying those parents, saying, would you be willing from this time to this time to bring your child? Might help you. I would think that'd be a good.
We're excited about it. I mean, we have the funds. That would include maybe transportation, maybe food service, salaries. So. what we're gonna talk about.
I think that'd be very popular. I don't know what you gotta do to get the word out to get people here, but
I know some schools are also doing an after-school tutoring or program that the teachers get extra duty pay for. That might also be a possibility later in this year that
Yep.
would stretch even outside of the summer, but something that could go into effect.
We
maybe
do
even
those
sooner.
at the high school and middle school, just we haven't branched into elementary yet.
That's
I
what I
wonder
have.
if
Thank
you
you.
could, well, never mind,
Appreciate it.
it's fine, okay.
alright. Is that all, Lauren?
Yep.
Tanya? Oh, hold on a second, just, I mean, real quick, I mean, I was gonna may ask Aaron, but when Mark, I was gonna hit Lauren up, I mean, Mark mentioned that we got the partnership with, St. Mary's. And I know we're exploring the cost for the West Campus, but when we don't have any commitments yet that those rooms will be there or for them. Or
They're not
anything like
committed.
that.
We
I mean,
have,
I
we have
think
a-
it's popular, but we gotta get the cost and we gotta figure out how much it is and all that.
We just know that we have every intent on using that, what I call the West Bank of classrooms in some capacity. And so that's why, originally that wasn't in the budget at all, we were just gonna leave them as is. But if we're gonna use them, like rooms 2, 3, 4, and 5, as you move south down that hallway, then we need to look at painting and flooring and ceiling and lights, and then you run into your sprinkler system when you renovate, and so it's gonna rise in cost a little bit, or some, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to
But we don't have anything.
make sure we're not committed to classes and we have to spend, the money seems to be there and we're getting costs, but
We have goals.
goals, that's the way to phrase it.
Goals
Nice
and
way to put it.
dreams.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if they have any plans or
No.
objectives or what that might be,
Not yet.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I didn't really think that was Aaron's business to answer, so hit you up. Tanya?
All right. I have an update on our free ACT. We did this last year as well. The Kansas State Department of Education is paying for districts to administer the online ACT, and we will be giving that at our high school in February to any junior who wants to take the ACT. The dates for that, February 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We do have makeup dates available if we have snow dates. We'll be using those dates as we see how many students are wanting to take the online ACT. We have to spread them out at a certain distance. It's very, very prescripted. So we will likely use all 3 of those dates to spread students out. They'll only take it to 1 day, but we'll use all 3 days to get all of our students through. All right, and then new courses. We've met with our teaching and learning committee. I know that Mr. Farrar and Ms. Smith talked about a new course, and I'll talk about that one. What we're wanting to do also is partner with K-State to offer a pilot of computer science. This is something that's very popular and is becoming more interesting for high school students. K-State would pay a portion of the fees, and then we would phase the courses into our course offerings. They're also the basis for undergraduate certificate in computer science, what they call the computational core program at K-State. So our students would receive dual credit for those classes. And we would phase those in. We do have a teacher who would teach those courses, and we've been in communication with K-State about that. We would have an MOU to sign with them and work out those details. They are doing a pilot at Manhattan High School right now, and it's going very well. So those courses would be CC 110, Introduction to Computing. It'd be worth 3 credits, college credits. CC 210, Fundamental Computer Programming Concepts. That's 4 credits. And CC 310, Data Structures and Algorithms 1 for 3 credits. CC 315, Data Structures and Algorithms 2 for 3 credits. Advanced Programming, CC 410 for 4 credits. So those would not obviously be offered all at once. We would phase those in as they're appropriate for the students. And again, it's a pilot program right now, so we would work through some of those kinks that Manhattan High School is going through, and then with K-State. And obviously, if we don't have the interest or it doesn't work out, we're not obligated to continue that. So, it's based on our student interest and what our students would want to pursue The other courses that we have with some changes, if you remember last year about this time, I talked to you about some Kansas Board of Regents changes that were beneficial to our students and their interest levels. What they did was they allowed, instead of being very prescriptive on you have to take English 1, English 2, English 3, English 4, they allowed you to be a little more, they allowed you more leeway on what courses you offer, but still meeting the English standards. So for example, world literature would be a new course that we'd be offering. It's not that we're taking away an English there, it would be an English elective that they could take, but could count as that English core also. Science fiction, fantasy, nonfiction, writing, and those courses would give those students who maybe are not your traditional students who want to study or read up on Shakespeare. You know, maybe that's not their niche, and maybe they have a different interest that would still meet all those requirements for those courses. They could take the world literature or the science fiction, fantasy, or the nonfiction writing. So KBOR has allowed us to make those changes as we have our students interested in them. And then the final course there was Intro to Welding, and you heard Mrs. Smith talk about that tonight. That's that course that's needed for the manufacturing pathway. Do you have questions on any of those courses? These were all approved by our Teaching and Learning Committee through their meetings.
The computer stuff, I mean, yeah, I know a graduate that wish he would have had that, but
Yeah.
We have a teacher that can teach it.
Yes.
Are we losing something, and then as we phase these in, are we gonna be faced with needing another teacher, or?
No, it's probably one of those courses, like as Mrs. Smith talked, we offer, you know, only on the odd years or even years as you phase them in. As we grow as a district, there may be a need to add another teacher who can focus strictly on some of these things, but we're not at that enrollment-wise yet. We'll have the space, we have the teacher, so you know, we have multiple teachers that could actually teach this. One teacher is specifically interested in offering this.
And would families have to pay for the college credit option on these?
That's something that we're working out with K-State. My thought is no, they would not have to pay for a lot. There may be some small cost that would give them some ownership, you know, that pay for some type of credit so that they're not just, oh, this is a free class, I can fail it if I want to, you know. We're still working on those details with K-State. It may be something that they're prescriptive, you know, that they want all high schools to do it the same way. They're still going through that pilot right now with Manhattan, so I'm interested to see how Manhattan has dealt with that.
So my only thought, and I think it sounds great, my only thought would be if somebody started paying with the intent that they would ultimately get this undergraduate certificate, if for some reason we had to stop it, whether the interest wasn't there, who knows what, I would be a little bit concerned that someone paid for a certificate that they ultimately couldn't get because we stopped it. So I think we just ought to be really clear for anybody that signs up for it. If there is a charge, you know, our intention is to see this through. If we don't see it through, you know, I don't want anybody to feel like they were sold a bill of goods and then didn't get it. So
Right.
But I think it's great that we're doing this stuff.
Well, even so, even if I'm a student who starts taking these courses and maybe I just can't fit the rest of them in my schedule, if I do go to K-State, I can continue with those because they're dual credits. So they're offered at the college level and at the high school level.
Are those credits only applicable for K-State, or?
I'll have to look at, they're sending a draft of the MOU, and I need to look at that to see if they're translational to other colleges or universities. I would assume they are.
There are other colleges or universities besides
Only
This is
basketball
just a
season.
great opportunity for our students.
What's basketball?
I know my kids would have loved to partake in these courses, but.
I think it looks great.
Okay, and these will be up on your agenda later for approval. All right, that's all I have this time.
All right, anything else? If not, we'll move into action items. Item 5.1 is approval of the secondary post-secondary coordinator, increase of 0.5 to 1.0 position. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve action item 5.1.
I make a motion to approve he called it the college and career coordinator or post-secondary coordinator position.
Is there a second?
I second it.
And a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. All right, item 5.2, the approval of the media resource teacher position. Discussion? Entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the media resource teacher position.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, you get that? I can't see you hiding over there today. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Item 5.3, approval of the new courses for 21-22. Any discussion? Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve the new courses for 2021 through 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. Nobody's tired. Item 5.4, approval of contract amendment for strategic master planning proposal process. This was with DLR. Is there any further discussion? And then with that I had is the are we good with $50,000 limit? Is really the only question I had. And it sounds like it's gonna take that to get it done, so.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, it's a time and materials engagement. We own the purse strings. If we take it down weird paths, it could cost us more. If we're judicious and we plan up front, you know, I tend to trust Amber. I think, you know, the initial engagement with them to define what the outputs are is gonna be really important.
Yeah.
But given those time and materials, we can pull the plug on it any time.
I think we also would wanna look at, after we do that initial scoping meeting, that then they update, tell us whether the remainder of what's left is still adequate.
Yeah.
Before we go down the path.
Good.
All right.
I move that we approve the contract amendment for strategic master planning process with DLR.
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. Approved. The board policy updates. I think we had a committee
Yep.
met on this. I know there was at least one question, but these are the KSB routine recommendations to update our policy.
Right. Just very quickly, before Drew, because Drew and I have been talking about this, and Karen's also on that committee. The very last one is probably the question about gang-related activity. One thing that KSB put into it was additional information about the differentiation between gang activity and bullying, you know, how it's, just the language. And then and Drew brought that up and we talked about that, and I haven't talked to you tonight, but I talked to Mr. Farrar and he felt, you know, that if we want to just reduce the gang activity verbiage and combine it, because every situation is different. You know, I know we don't have, knock on wood, we don't have gang activity here, so it hasn't been an issue. I've only dealt with it once in my educational career. So what he was saying is, we could just leave it the same and combine it under one, if that's how you interpret it.
Yeah, just for everybody's information, what they did was they changed gang activity to gang intimidation and removed every reference that, you know, specific to really gang. You can jump in here. But what it then reads like, there isn't really any differentiation between gang intimidation and just bullying. So there's a lot of ambiguity there. Like, you could call something gang or you could call it the same thing bullying. So with that, then there's really no way to say that, based upon what they said, that it's gang activity. So it really doesn't have much value.
No. I think there's just, if you're in a situation where you have gang activity in your school district, you probably want more details and, the verbiage.
Yeah.
But that's not probably where USD 464 is at this point.
So would you recommend just eliminating the JHCAA gang?
And just leave it as is. It's, is that?
Although I like how they put that in there because they took out the language that was too broad and targeted certain racial and ethnic groups.
Yeah.
And that was appropriate, I felt like.
Right. But what they didn't do was differentiate it from bullying, because the language is very, very similar. It's like-
Well, the bullying has a very specific definition though.
Right. And this one is in line with that, for gang.
So what are you suggesting? Because we'll do
Are
whatever.
you saying that both definitions are the same?
No,
Very
they're not the
similar.
same.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't define what it is. It says gang intimidation is a communication of any threat or personal injury to another, actual personal injury to another, or any threat of or actual damage to another's property.
But there's specific bullying language in the rest of the board
Right.
policy that talks about repeated.
No, it doesn't actually. It says in the KSB one, it says, bullying is,
Handbook or policy?
That's in policy too.
so bullying is any intentional gesture or any intentional written, verbal, or physical act or threat that is sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive, that it creates an intimidating, threatening, or abusive educational environment for a student or staff member. So it says that persistent or pervasive is qualified, but it's not the only thing. And it says intimidating, which is the
But
same
that's
thing as
just-
gang
the-
intimidation.
Your policy is just an overarching umbrella, but then we also have further guidance on our bullying documentation. And we're currently reviewing that anyway to make our updates for that. So they're very specific on some other, well, policy is written broadly, and then you have your very specific handbooks and directions and procedures.
I mean, I guess my concern is we pay KSB to be our attorney. I mean, if we
Yeah, when I
follow our
talk-
policy, it
yeah.
follows their guidelines, but.
When I talked to KSB, they just said that each school district makes that decision on how it best affects your school district.
Yeah, and they said in the recommendation that you could just eliminate gang and then just
Combine
combine
it.
the bullying.
And we're okay with that. Administration's fine. You just make a recommendation and we'll,
Yeah, what I'd like, and I talked with, Mark gave me a call at your
Yeah.
request, and we agreed that if you were to have a gang issue, you'd want to have language that delineated it as a organizational activity or something as a group, which it doesn't, KSB doesn't have in this language. Because if you said, hey, this is a gang activity based upon the policy, you can't define it. Somebody could always come back and say, no, it was bullying, because they're enforced differently. You wouldn't be able to.
yeah, I got you.
I mean, did they give us the alternative language in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
document?
what they did is they actually added more language to make it a little more specific.
Was that after,
No, this is this one. You got this?
is that the original one you
Yeah,
said?
that's the original. Here you go. See if it's.
He's got it.
I thought you did.
Yeah, but that's the one, they didn't add anything to it. They actually struck out.
They struck out some, but they were more specific. Well, no, it's kind of a blend.
It's really broad.
So we're honestly up to what you think.
Well, I would recommend we strike that section since its policy reads identical to work.
So, yeah, Audra needs, when you make the motion,
Yeah,
just make sure Audra understands what we're striking, so.
okay, you want me to give this to her then, so
Yep.
she has a.
We have a motion.
Yeah, I move that, we accept, the policy updates from KSB with the exception that we strike JHCAA, gang activity.
I second it.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried. Replacement bus bid, Warren, I don't know if you
Okay,
want to
yeah,
go over
I
this.
can, there was a couple, Drew had a couple did you get those answered, Drew? Or do you want me to go through those real quick? You had a question about, the S-E versus the NC?
Yeah, SEN.
And then, so this is the it's the Kansas Bus Purchasing Program, which is sponsored by KSDE. It's the same program we've been using for, I don't know, I've used it for 6 or 7 years at least, and I'm assuming Common-Oxy has too. But any bus that we've purchased in the last 3 has been through here, through this. So the SE, Drew, is standard equipment. The NC is no charge. And the differentiation between that is, SE is just standard, but NC, if we wanted it, either they're gonna charge us for it or not charge us for us, and then you can just see, that shows the difference between either Kansas Truck, Midwest, or Midwest Transit. It separates out specific items that Jill asked for on the bid sheet. And
Okay, so we would be taking all of these options in?
yes.
Okay.
And then the best one, and the one that we've used for the last 2 years has been Midwest Bus Sales over in Bonner. And they actually have, and we've been very happy with the Thomas buses that we've been receiving, and that's the best bid.
Well, there's a lot more options on buses than when I was.
Oh, gosh, yeah. These are route buses, you know, some of the buses we bought had lockers underneath and all that, but these do not.
So
have
I
those.
noticed that we got the deduct for removing those outside luggage, the lockers you said. Is there a reason for that? Does that, if we were to get it, this is more of a Jill question, does that provide, you know, as the bus ages, that it could be used for other things?
You know, we're not putting the 2 activity buses on routes because of the rock and the dirt and the dust.
Oh.
They are not that solid. I mean, they're great if you just keep them on the highway, but if you start running them on routes,
It just beats them up.
they didn't know. So that's why they don't have them. Your luggage would be.
So
filled with dirt.
the actual equipment, the doors just get break down? if you-
Yes, they rust,
Or the rust out your panels for that.
yes,
stuff.
they're not.
Okay.
It's not conducive for what our route buses.
And
Right.
this bus was a planned 2021.
This is well, it would have been, we got 2. This bus is the second bus on order. The first one we ordered in, whenever that was, it's supposed to come in March. We just checked, late February, March. This one is gonna replace the one that was wrecked.
But we had 2 budgeted for the year.
Yes,
So this would be
there's
the
2
second
budget.
one.
This is the second one of the budget year.
So at the end of this, we'll still be down 1 bus.
Yes, we'll still be down 1 because of the fact we have one that the engine, the head gasket went out on it, and we're not gonna pay 15,000 to repair an old bus. It has no value.
You'd be down 2 then.
Yes,
This
now,
is the-
yeah, right now, we're down 2, and this would put us down 1. Yes. This is the exact same bid we received in, June or July, I think, when we ordered that bus. So, we've been happy with it.
Then you're recommending the Midwest bus?
The Midwest, yeah.
Is there any other
The Thomas
questions
bus.
for Lauren on this? Is there, I'd entertain a motion to approve the bus purchase?
Make a motion for the approval of the replacement bus bid through Midwest Bus Company.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. Approval of the public notice, second publication. This is what Lori brought up. We're required to put this notice out because of the dollar amount of the tax increase exceeded the 1.8%. I don't know if there's really any other thing to discuss on this one. I'd move we approve the notice of public notice, second publication, item 5.7 on the agenda. Is there a second?
I second it.
Stephanie seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Item 5.8, approval to extend FFCRA benefits. You wanna
Yeah,
kinda
real, and
explain?
Audrey has been working on this also. The initial, extension ended December 31st. And basically, that was for certified staff. And this one also, and we've already taken really basically care of the certified staff. They're extended through the end of the school year. This would cover the classified staff also. Is that a pretty good way to describe it, Audrey? So this is standard. It's nothing, I mean, all school districts are doing it.
Well, it's regarding the pandemic.
Yeah,
the use
this is
of
all,
leave.
right. And Audra's managing that well for us, and it's a challenge, but this is necessary. It helps out our staff.
Who drafted the document? I mean,
Yeah, it's Audra, she pulled.
Luke Silva with ASB.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve item 5.8?
I make a motion to approve item 5.8.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. Then, I guess I amended the agenda at the beginning. Item 5.9, Lauren kind of talked about it. I just, for clarity purposes, I think we already gave him the authority to get bids on the lights, but since we're switching companies, I would just recommended that we grant him the approval to get the bid for the lights.
Yeah, it'll be through the
that
other-
new company. I don't know if there's any other discussion on that.
No, can we expand the motion to give Lauren the authority to get bids on lights regardless of what the company is?
Can do that.
Yeah, sounds like a
That'll
plan to
speed
me.
it up.
Sounds like a plan to me.
So I would move that we give Lauren the authority to get bids on lights from whatever vendor he deems appropriate.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. All right, executive session. I think we need to have just a brief executive session. Mr.
Make a motion to
Grattan.
move into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters for 5 minutes and just invite board members only.
Yes.
First,
I'd second that motion. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Quick here. following executive session, I would like to move that USD 464 extends Lauren Feldkamp's superintendent contract out through July 30th, 2022. Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carried. All right, possible announcements and upcoming dates.
Got one.
Okay?
You probably are aware, but this is, January is Board Appreciation Month. And, no, I didn't make the cakes, I have to admit. But I think Barb and her crew came through. I'm not exactly sure. Or maybe she went out, but anyway, she arranged all this and the drinks and things. But we really appreciate all the work that you do and for all the donation of your time and finances. So, appreciate it. Big paychecks. A lot of work.
I'd like to thank Jim and Chris for agreeing to the officers for another 6 months. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through 2024.
Yeah. You can do it.
Just for clarification, so Audrey, I'm just talking, was the motion made right as far as extending it another year for a 2-year contract? My contract?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure.
I think it comes up this year, 2021, so.
It's,
gonna
yeah,
be
I'm the
2022.
only administrator on a 2-year.
Well, it was a 2-year initially, and then it went to 1 year after that.
Anyway,
We just added a year to what you are right now.
Yes, got it, thank you.
I mean, the only other thing is that goals, or strategy and goal setting. I mean, I don't know if March is soon enough, or, I mean,
I'll do it whenever.
I don't know if people want to look at their calendars and contemplate maybe when it would be they thought it would be a good idea. And, I mean, we got a lot going on that trying to get that squeezed in. And if you have any thoughts or ideas, I guess, email myself and Lauren, and then we'll try to get that worked out. And then we might try to integrate that DLR meeting in with, if it makes sense, or maybe we need, I guess, listen, we need to kind of do our thing first and then do theirs. So, anyway, we'll work on that. I don't know if there's anything else to discuss. Anyone? All right, meeting adjourned.